What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Backup Fantasy Sports. I'm your host, Ewan Leaf. It is Thursday, April 21st, 2022, and today we will be talking about Fantasy Premier League with a Game Week 34 preview. So we'll go through how Game Week 33 went, some notables from that bunch of games. We'll go over the schedule for Game Week 34, answer some questions, go over teams with a double game week, and then I will quickly review what I think I'm going to do with my team and who will be my captain. So let's kick it right off with a little bit of a game week 33 review. It is Thursday, so there is one more game to go tonight with Burnley versus Southampton. There were 4 games last night and one game the night before for all those doubling teams. So there's been a lot of action in FPL, a lot of victory laps, a lot of downtrodden teams. That's honestly how I was feeling after Sunday afternoon. But a couple of results the past couple of nights have bounced back, including the Liverpool assets coming through. Andy Robertson, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Virgil van Dijk, all getting clean sheets in a 4-0 win over Man United, and all of the attackers getting in on the action with Mohamed Salah getting 2 goals, Luis Diaz with a goal and assist, Sadio Mane with a goal and an assist, and it was a brilliant performance if you are a manager of any of those players, and if you are a Liverpool fan, which I am. Just going to make a audio reminder for myself that at the start of the 2022-2023 Fantasy Premier League season, I have to have Luis Diaz in my team with Mo Salah because that guy has been phenomenal since he came to Anfield. I honestly don't think Liverpool would be in the position that they are without him at this point. Other notable things, Man City won 3-0 last night over Brighton. It was 0-0 at half, but Riyad Mahrez, Phil Foden, and Bernardo Silva came through with second half goals. Kevin De Bruyne got an assist, as did Mahrez to add to his goal. KDB back in action after missing Saturday's FA Cup semifinal loss to Liverpool. So good couple of days for Liverpool there, getting through to the FA Cup final and getting over a rivalry game with Man United as they focus on Everton this weekend. Other games to note, Cristiano Ronaldo had a hat trick against Norwich on Saturday, which rewarded anyone that took him in on a double game week, but unfortunately some family matters prevented him from playing in the Liverpool game, and I'm honestly not sure if we will see him again this season, as what happened was pretty tragic, so you could understand if anyone would just not want to be focusing on football right now. Arsenal lost to Southampton, who were well and truly on the beach, or so we thought. And then Arsenal made it up last night by going to Stamford Bridge and beating Chelsea 4-2 in Chelsea's backyard. Uh, Emil Smith-Rowe, Bukayo Saka, Eddie Nketiah had 2 goals. Bukayo Saka's 92nd minute penalty was very helpful to my own team. But yeah, Chelsea they didn't look all that great in the first half against Crystal Palace in the FA Cup semifinal on Sunday, but they did win. And then, yeah, last night they were just kind of torn apart. Haven't watched the highlights of that game yet, but it does not look great from looking on social media. And yeah, of course, Wout Weghorst finally scored. I brought him in game week 31 because he had a double, and then he had a double in game week 33, and I was like, okay, like this is gonna go great. Well, guess what? I benched him this week for the double game week because I was sick and tired of him. He had come through with 2 points against Everton, 1 point against Man City in that double game week 31. He was brought off after 55 minutes against Norwich in game week 32. And then Burnley fired their manager, Sean Dyche, midweek, and he finally scored a goal and got all 3 bonus points right there on my bench. Not to reveal my transfer plans too early here, but I think I'll be done with Wout Weghorst. He has caused me nothing but headaches all season, even with Burnley still having a double game week in 37. But as far as the rest of the doublers go, it was pretty mixed bag. Like Man United won 3-2, but then they lost 4-0. Arsenal lost to Southampton, but then they won 4-2. Brighton beat Tottenham and then got thumped by City. Newcastle came through with 2 wins. No Chris Wood. It was all about the Bruno Guimaraes show. Shout out to Az of FPL Twitter who called that, and the guy came through with 2 goals and an assist in those 2 games. So that was wild. I went with the Newcastle triple up this week, as I had Martin Dubravka, Fabian Schär, and Chris Wood as my captain. Schär came through with a clean sheet and a bonus point last night. Dubravka got the clean sheet. So that saved my game week a little bit. Chris Wood as my captain, played all 90 minutes in both games. Played 68 minutes against Leicester, actually. And Newcastle don't have a double the rest of the way. So could be time to get Chris Wood out of my lineup as well, along with Wout Weghorst. I got some transfer debates to make at the end of the year, or as we head down the final stretch. But let's look ahead to the game week 34 schedule on Saturday. It is a massive, massive game to kick us off with Man United taking on Arsenal, with 4th place essentially on the line here. I think if Man United lose that game, they can kiss their chances at Champions League football goodbye. You could say that it's already gone. They're 3 points behind Spurs and Arsenal, and they've played one more game, but another loss to Arsenal would put them 6 points back, and you just can't see that team clawing that back with only 4 games to go. If you were listening to the Sky Sports coverage of that Liverpool Man United game, Gary Neville was absolutely shredding his former team for their lack of passion, just how easy it was. There was about a good 10-minute spell at the start of the second half, and then everything else was all Liverpool, and Gary Neville was just having none of it, which, like, Liverpool fan, it's hilarious to see Man United falter, but even like the way that Gary Neville was going in on those guys was like, wow, this is bad. And then Roy Keane in the post game he was just sad, normally a very fiery character, but he was just dismayed at the direction of the Man United team at the moment. So after that early game between Man United and Arsenal, it is going to be Leicester, Aston Villa, Man City, Watford, Norwich, Newcastle in the afternoon games, with Brentford and Spurs in the late game. Then moving on to Sunday, we will have Brighton, Southampton, 2 teams that you think would be on the beach, but they keep kind of winning surprising games. Burnley, Wolves in a must-win game for Burnley. It's getting that way already. And Chelsea, West Ham, and then the Merseyside derby on Sunday night, Liverpool versus Everton in the late game. That, keep going back to what Gary Neville said, but a lot of people were thinking that Liverpool might struggle. They've got a tougher run-in with Man United and Everton, but Man United are playing so poorly right now that 4-0 scoreline was justified, and it could be the same way against Everton. Always nervous going into a Merseyside derby, obviously, because you never know what can happen in these kind of things, but Liverpool should win that game by 2 or 3 goals, you would reckon. And then on Monday, it's Crystal Palace, Leeds. Both teams, Leeds fairly safe at this point. They're 8 points up on Burnley with 6 games to go, and Crystal Palace, they've just been so hit or miss. They've had some good form, and then they've only got 8 wins this year. That's like Everton and Leeds have 8 wins. Newcastle have 10 wins, and they didn't have a win for the longest time to start the season. So things have gone a little bit south there at Crystal Palace, but so that should be a strange game. Maybe those managers that held Rafinha through his blank in 33 can take advantage of that on a Monday night game. And then Thursday, we've got our only doubles of the game week with Man United playing Chelsea. Those are the only two teams with a double game week. So that kind of brings up the question. Those two teams have a double game week. Are they worth getting into your team? For Man United, I can firmly say no, I do not think so, especially after watching them on Tuesday. If you wanted to bring in their assets, you should have brought them in for 33 because then you would have had back to back doubles. Although it wasn't confirmed before the game week 33 deadline, the announcement was made that if Chelsea beat Crystal Palace in the semi-final of the FA Cup, that they would have a double in game week 34. And with Chelsea being pretty big favorites, you, it wouldn't have been a bad assumption to just say that they were going to win that. So if you wanted to get Man United assets in, you should have done it last week. And they blank in game week 37 now because this Chelsea game has been moved because of the FA Cup final. So yeah, it's crazy to say, but I just would not. I'd stay clear of all Man United assets, even Bruno Fernandes. Like if Cristiano Ronaldo doesn't come back for the rest of the year, which who knows what's going to happen there. Like even like last night, Bruno just looked so disinterested in the game. Kind of got away with a pretty big lash out at Trent Alexander-Arnold at the end of that game there on just a yellow card, but just a miserable double game week for him in 33. And I just playing Arsenal, who they've got something to fight for. They showed a lot last night. They looked like they were kind of a sinking ship, but coming through with a win over Chelsea was massive for them last night. And then Man United also playing Chelsea, who will want to secure their top 3 spot a little bit, make it a tiny bit more secure here. They're 5 points ahead of Tottenham and Arsenal with a game in hand, but you never want to lose to Man United if you're any club, especially a big club. But for Chelsea in the double game week, I mean, it was shocking last night to not see Antonio Rudiger on the lineup. Apparently, he has a groin injury. That's a big headache for me in my own FPL team that I'm going to have to deal with here. But Mason Mount, Kai Havertz, Timo Werner, Reece James, and Rudiger, if he was somehow healthy, they all have appeal to me. They have a double this week, and then they have a double in 36. So 2 doubles in 3 weeks, and then game week 35, they have Everton. So that is a lot of kind matchups, especially with the double game weeks. You always want players like that. So I think I mean, they have the league now and the FA Cup final in game week 37. So they'll have a full rested team going in there. The double game week in 36 might be a little bit sketchy if they want to rest players midweek before their final. Like if the top 3 spot is secure, I think you would see a lot of rotation there. But that's maybe where like Timo Werner comes in, Kai Havertz, like they seem to be getting pretty consistent run of games, and Werner's been outstanding recently. He was probably, I mean, Kai Havertz had his run there for a little bit, and then it seems like Werner has really come on here at the end from game weeks. Here we go. Game week 28, we had Havertz with 14 points and 12 points in the double game week. Then he came through with 7, 2, 6, but only 1 point last night as he only got 30 minutes of action. He's a midfielder, so there's a lot more options in the midfield. So if you don't want to risk the rotation there, I totally understand that. But Werner has been pretty solid. He's at 8.6 million right now, and he's come through with 15 points against Southampton in that 6-0 thumping, and now he's got 8 points last night with another goal and 2 bonus points against Arsenal. Could he just be the league guy? I mean, the Lukaku experiment in Chelsea has been an absolute failure. He played last night, but I mean, Timo Werner's in his 2nd year now. I guess Chelsea really want to see what they've got with him, and Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what Thomas Tuchel says in the press conferences before this weekend. See if Lukaku is going to get more of a run out, see if Rudiger is going to make it back in time. Mason Mount is still probably my favorite asset, Chelsea asset out of these five, which were Mount, Havertz, Werner, Rudiger, and James. Reece James, just can't trust him right now. I mean, he was playing center back last night. Really tough to have any hope for him for the rest of the year. Maybe we can just circle back to him in the 2022-23 season. But I would definitely rather get Chelsea assets in over Man United players for this week. So if you follow me on Twitter, you know that I write for rotoballer.com, and every week we have a FPL staff roundtable where I ask some questions and kind of topics of the week. So just wanted to go through some of those here. So that article will be published later today on Thursday, April 21st. So I will tweet that out, and hopefully you guys will get a good read of that before the game week 34 deadline. So first question I asked here is, with Man City turning their focus to the league and Europe, are you more comfortable rostering their players for the run-in now? So yeah, Man City lost in the semifinal of the FA Cup to Liverpool 3-2 on Saturday, and now they've only got, but they've got the league to focus on, which looked good last night with a 3-0 thumping of Brighton, and they've got a massive Champions League game or tie coming up with Real Madrid in the next couple of weeks as they look to finally claim Europe's top prize. But what are we thinking for their assets? Like, is Pep going all out for the league here? They've got Watford in 34, Leeds in 35, Newcastle in 36. Currently, West Ham are scheduled for game week 37, and they've got Aston Villa at the end. And on the FPL fixture difficulty rating, Watford's a 2, Leeds is a 2, Newcastle's a 2, West Ham's a 3, and Aston Villa's a 2. So you got to love all their attacking assets. Kevin De Bruyne, 11.8. Super tempting, not going to lie, like to get him out for Mo Salah, but that's actually a question I have later. But could you go with Salah and KDB and not have Kane? Like, just get in a Werner, see how that goes, try to ride the Chelsea bandwagon a little bit. Could be an interesting thought. But I guess to really answer my question, I think the only assets I'd be comfortable rostering for City are KDB, João Cancelo, Ederson, their goalkeeper, maybe Laporte, maybe. I mean, Diaz is supposed to be fit again, but he hasn't really cracked the team all that much. So I think KDB, João Cancelo, and Ederson for me right now are the only three City assets I would be interested in getting in. If they double in game week 36 along with Liverpool and Chelsea, that's when I'm going to be activating my one free hit chip left. That's all I've got. Was hoping that, because right now I don't even have a City player in my full-time team, and it's terrifying every time they take the field. But without knowing who they're going to play, it's just not ideal to be taking hits or using free transfers on players that may or may not play. Let's look up Man City's schedule real quick because I do not remember when those. Here we go. So on Saturday they play Watford, but on Tuesday they instantly play Real Madrid. Then they've got Leeds on the Saturday and Real Madrid the following Wednesday. So that's a lot of games in a small amount of time. And I mean, no offense to Watford or Leeds, but Real Madrid are going to be far tougher competition for Man City. So we could actually see a ton of rotation in this City team. They just played on Wednesday. KDB's coming back from an injury. So he may, I mean, would it be surprising? I wouldn't be surprised to see KDB on the bench on Saturday and maybe make like a 30-minute get, knock the rust off, keep kind of match fit against Watford, but City should have no trouble against them on Saturday. But as with Madrid coming up that following Tuesday, I can't imagine Pep. I mean, obviously they want to win the league, but City have a lot of people have been saying they have two teams that could probably win the Premier League this year. So I would expect a lot of rotation. I can't really see Pep forcing the issue and playing KDB 3 times within 7 days. Seems like you're asking for a problem there if you play him that much. And then so that's a scary. While the Watford, the Leeds, the Newcastle games surrounding those two Man City ties are incredible FPL fixtures, with the Champions League games being in the middle there. Cancelo is probably going to get his start, so it might just be a Cancelo and Ederson move here after looking at the schedule. Not sure if I can trust KDB for FPL purposes, because I'm assuming, like I said, Man City are going to be focused on this Real Madrid tie as they look to get back to the final for the second year in a row, where they may play Liverpool once again, because Liverpool have Villarreal. So Liverpool can, I mean, it's two English teams going up against two Spanish teams here. I think any Liverpool fan would admit they'd much rather play Villarreal than Real Madrid, and that's exactly what's happening. So it kind of allows Liverpool to, focus a tiny bit more on the league if they have to. Got a couple of what people are calling tougher games. I think the better way to describe them would just be more emotional games. I mean, they've got Everton, and then they've got Newcastle, Spurs, Aston Villa, and Wolves. I mean, Spurs at Anfield, that tie has been historically a lot of goals, and I feel like it's gone Liverpool's way more often than not. But yeah, the Everton game will be emotional. We should take care of business at Newcastle. Spurs could be somewhat tricky, and then Aston Villa in that double game week in 36 just a few days later. But I mean, this team they're firing on all cylinders right now, and if Mo Salah is out of his mini dip in form, then I fully expect them to come away with maximum points towards the end of the season. But second question I have here on the rotoballer.com FPL staff roundtable is beach teams. Which popular assets are you fading? So we just got to take a quick look here at the Premier League table. Which teams are on the beach here? We got Wolves not really doing anything. West Ham and Leicester are both still involved in their respective European competitions with semi-final ties. So that'll be interesting to monitor. I would expect that they're just not focused on the league all that much. So while Madison and Dewsbury Hall and Harvey Barnes and Jamie Vardy have been great FPL assets, I think I've actually brought Dewsbury Hall in last week for their doubles because Leicester have so many fixtures coming up. But he was just the cheapest way to get some exposure to that Leicester team. So it made sense for me. But yeah, we've got Newcastle could be on the beach now. They're fighting to kind of look good for summer transfers. Brentford, Southampton, those are kind of the teams that you would be worrying about. I did bring in James Ward-Prowse. I could see myself getting him out after this double. Yeah, I made probably a short-term move there for me. A little bit hindsight, Captain Obvious, but probably should have just stuck to my guns here and not knee-jerked James Ward-Prowse in. But two home games, one against Arsenal, who were struggling defensively, and then another against Burnley tonight. I mean, if I do this podcast tomorrow morning, James Ward-Prowse comes through with 2 goals tonight, I would be singing his praises. So we'll never know until all these games are final. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of beach teams in the league right now, but I don't know how many of their players are super popular in our teams these days. I mean, Man United, Arsenal, Tottenham, Chelsea, Liverpool, Man City. They should all still be fighting for something. West Ham, I mean, they should just be focusing on Europe. They're 2 points behind United, 5 points behind Spurs and Arsenal, but they've played one more game than Tottenham and Arsenal combined. So I don't think Champions League is in their future anytime soon. They're still in line for some European football in a bizarre way. I always forget how many teams can actually qualify for Europe in the Premier League these days, but they can just keep plodding along and have a good league campaign. I mean, West Ham fans would take 7th. They're behind like the big 6, so you'd want to be right there. But yeah, I mean, Leeds, Everton, Burnley, Watford, Norwich, those guys are all fighting for survival. Not really Leeds as much. They're 8 points clear of the drop. Aston Villa only 3 points ahead of Leeds as well. They might want to be still improving under Steven Gerrard as the season winds down. And final question here is Mo Salah or KDB for the rest of the season? I think I've already answered that question. I think Mo Salah is going to play every single game for Liverpool. His fitness and injury is never in question. And KDB just has, Man City have too many important ties, and the fixtures around those ties are just a little bit easy that he can be benched. And so I think I will stick with Mo Salah there. Moving on to my team. In the transfers department, I'm getting out. I'm getting Antonio Rudiger out. If that injury is going to cost him this double game week, it's going to be time to get him out. Probably bring in Trent, and then I might go Gabriel up to Cancelo here, as Arsenal only have one double game week to go. And I mean, I think Cancelo would safely outscore Gabriel. I think he's going to be a constant in the Man City side. And then to make that all possible, I think it's going to be time to get Weghorst out, to go down to Geldhart. One goal should not change your opinion in FPL. So I was determined to get Weghorst out before this week, and I think it's going to be the same here. And then I think the captain's armband has to go on Mo Salah in a home tie against Everton. He could just whip out a hat trick here, and everyone will forget about his semi slump. But don't forget that the Game Week 34 deadline is on Saturday morning. It is going to be 12 p.m. Germany time, 11 a.m. UK time, and that makes 6 a.m. Eastern for you US listeners. Can't believe it's already winding down. My first season of FPL coming to an end. After this, we'll only have 35, 36, 37, 38. I mean, I'm right there right now with James Ward-Prowse to go tonight. I'm hovering at 107K overall. After I used my wild card in 28, I was all the way up to 85K. I'd love to get back there by the end of the year because it's really nice to only see 5 digits on your overall rank. So hoping for something good there. I've made it kind of far in some of my mini league cups. Looks like I'm going to advance in the Rotoballer Cup to the round of 32. Made it a few rounds in Germany, the Germany Cup, where I'm based, but got knocked out with 256 remaining there. So that is really all there is to it. Once again, thanks for listening. You can subscribe on the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. It now goes up on YouTube. It's just like a simulcast kind of thing. So you can find it all there if you search for Backup Fantasy Sports. And of course, you can find me on Twitter at UIn. Tomorrow is going to be another podcast here as we go over to the racetrack for some F1 fantasy as I preview the Imola Grand Prix. But once again, thanks for listening, and I will talk to you next time.